guess I'm going to be calling the meeting to order since Rich is no show. Anyway, call to order the meeting today. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will be doing that. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay,
That is the flag of Fort McHenry in my background, just so that we can make a record that we did have a flag up.
very nice.
Way to come through, Glenn.
Hey,
All right, item number 3, roll call. Linda,
James Randall,
here.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Here.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Here,
James Hewitt,
Here.
Glenn Sarka,
here,
Jennifer Clip,
Here.
Jennifer Ray,
Here.
Item number 4, appoint a temporary chairperson to chair the meeting. Do we need a motion for that or something, Linda?
yeah, I make a motion that we appoint Jamie Randall as temporary chairperson to chair the meeting.
Or
Any motion and support, all those in favor?
I think we gotta do roll call vote on everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The roll call, Linda?
So I have a motion and support to appoint James Randall as the temporary chairperson to preside until the election of president. James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yep,
James Hewitt,
yes.
Glenn Sarka,
yes,
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray,
Okay, item number 5, agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
make the motion.
support,
And a motion and support. Take roll call vote.
James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
yes,
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
Yes,
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray,
Okay, item number 6, approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the regular board meeting of December 14th, 2020, and the minutes of the special board meeting of December 21st, 2020.
Make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
second,
The motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Take a roll call vote.
yes, James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
yes,
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
yes,
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray,
Yes.
Okay, item number 7, elect officers for next year until next January. So, first of all, is the president.
hey, Linda, do we have to do these if we just, since we're doing, but, wait, Linda, do we have to do roll call votes on each one of these, or can we wait and do them together?
we should do a roll call vote on each office.
Okay,
And what we're gonna look for is a nomination from the floor, the person being nominated, accepting the nomination, a second for the nomination if there's only one nomination, and then a roll call vote.
way to go, Linda. I will nominate Jamie Randall for president.
Any other nominations?
I'll second that.
I'll accept the nomination. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Okay, we're doing a roll call vote for James Randall for president. James Randall?
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi?
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry?
Yes.
James Hewitt?
Yes.
Glenn Sarka?
Yes.
Jennifer Clip?
Yes.
Jennifer Ray? Jennifer Ray?
She's on mute.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 7-0 to elect James Randall as president. He
It's
will
all downhill from
continue,
here.
he will continue with the meeting at this point on.
Well,
As the
thank you.
president.
Thank you, board members. Thank you. We'll continue on with the office of vice president. We'll take nominations. I would nominate Brian Cherry for vice president. If he accepts it.
Yeah, I will.
I'll second that.
Mainly because I run a fast meeting.
I'll try and do that. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Okay, I have a nomination for Brian Cherry for the office of vice president. He has accepted the nomination. I have a second for that nomination. So now we will do the roll call vote. James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
Yes.
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray.
Yes.
Board members have voted 7-0 to elect Brian Cherry as vice president.
Okay, moving to item D, nominations for the secretary treasurer. I would nominate Kristen Conventi for that position if you will accept.
Support.
Yes, I accept.
We have a motion and support. Any other nominations?
Sounds like we have a dog in support as well.
All right, having a motion and support, we'll take a roll call vote.
Okay, we're taking a roll call vote. We have a motion and support for Kristen Cambenzi as secretary treasurer. James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
Yes.
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray.
Yes.
Board members have elected Kristen Cambenzi as secretary treasurer, 7-0.
Okay, well, congratulations, everybody. The next year. Next item is comments from the public, agenda items only. Do we have anybody in the queue, Linda, that would be for agenda items? All right, move on to.
There's all sorts of new noises tonight, that's for sure.
Is that you, Saunders? All right, superintendent's report.
No, those noises aren't me, but that bell was pretty timely. And I will say Kristen's voice continues to change quite a bit. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But we have George Meister with us. George is the engineer architect from GEI who's looked over our parking lot project, took what OHM did from a design standpoint. GEI is kind of revamped a lot of those plans that OHM had put together, and we're looking to try to get this out on bid. This has been kind of one of our marquee sinking fund projects. It's taken us a few years to put enough money in reserve to try to tackle this project, and George has an update for us. Our goal is to try to get this out on bid, certainly build in some flexibility for costs and other things to manage the total scope of this project. But our goal is to get this out on bid next week, to get the bids in mid-February and bring that to the board if we still have the funds to be able to approve that project. So
Bill, why don't you give a little history for the new board members on how this one came about or how long we've been doing it?
Well, the sinking fund, about 6.5 years ago, we were able to pass that sinking fund in May, coming off a few district failed attempts to pass a millage sinking fund. Part of this was generated from our redistricting, taking a look at grade alignments, those types of things, and also facilities. Going back to the early 2000s, Barton Mallows had done a facilities assessment for maps. And total of that facilities assessment last time that we had it looked at, if I remember correctly, total about $22 million worth of upgrades that maps needed.
Right.
So when we went through the process of redistricting and our community overwhelmingly said we wanted to go back to a K5, 6, 8, 9, 12 configuration. We also said in order to pull this off, we're going to need some financial support from the community. Community was outstanding in supporting us for the sinking fund. We had a committee made up of business owners, parents, board members, educators. And when our committee took a look at it and kind of responding to a previous failed bond millage, we decided that it wasn't probably prudent to go to the community and ask for the full $22 million. So we asked for about half that, which was a 0.95 mil increase, total about $11 million for us. A lot of that $11 million it was earmarked for roof replacement, boiler replacement, parking lot upgrades. Like the high school parking lot, for instance, is still original for the most part, other than all the patched potholes, which is got some new some new stuff in the patches, but the rest of it is all original. Probably a little bit more of an extensive project than what we had even estimated in the sinking fund. Our committee had no idea that, first and foremost, that it was original. Second, that it was going to require the amount of maintenance and upkeep that it does with stormwater replacement and all those kinds of things that are original. George will talk about it a little bit. There's pretty extensive clay tile on one side of the building that needs replacing. And so, and then probably the biggest piece that we've encountered, at least dealing with parking lots, since that's the hot topic tonight, is that when all our schools were built, the majority of folks in our community were used to walking to school. The commute to school is a lot different than what it is today. And what we found in all our buildings is that more and more parents are driving students, their kids to school. So the traffic flow in all our buildings is considerably more. Now, the other flip side to that is through the years, enrollments decreased and MAPS closed a lot of schools, right? So a lot of schools aren't within walking distance like what they used to be. So that's the other side to it. But because of the amount of traffic that our parking lots are facing, we have to be kind of innovative in how we try to approach the upkeep of these, keep traffic flow moving, make sure that we have plenty of parking for students, parents, those types of things. So anyway, that's just a quick snapshot, I guess. Did I not cover something you wanted me to?
George.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to kind of, we did Bothwell's parking a few years ago, and one of the problems was safety issues in pulling in and out. Have we seen that pay off with the Bothwell changes
I would think so.
Absolutely.
as far as with safety issues?
Same
Okay,
thing at
Wh-
Sandy Knoll.
With the island that we have at Bothwell, where the students are able to walk between the parking lots or between the parent drop-off loops instead of across the parent drop-off loop, that's made a huge difference for us. And to clearly separate parents, buses, those types of things. We used to have a lot more traffic pickup and drop-off in the back of Bothwell, backed by the bus loop that we don't have anymore. Obviously, Sandy Knoll, we separated the bus loop and the parents, one's on one side of the building, one's on the other. So yeah, we are taking those things into consideration as we approach these projects.
And when we initially started the sinking fund project, none of these parking lot estimates came even close to what they actually came out to by the time we got around to doing safety issues and stuff. I think the one at, do you remember the one at the high school? How much was it then and what is it now?
well, we got the bids for now.
Yeah, we got to wait for the bids. I try not to talk about the actual cost at the meetings. Just I did send you guys an email, but just I don't want to have that impact what those bids come in at. So
I
I
got
think it was $1.95. Phil.
yes.
I
And that,
thought
you know, so
They were going to pay us to do the bid. That's what it was.
All right, okay. Enough said.
enough,
So-
enough.
So George is live. Welcome, George. He's been pretty integral. Great technology tools GEI possesses for George to take me through this process and all the overlays. And they flew a drone and they had all kinds of pretty neat gadgets to give us a good look at our property. So I don't know what he has for you today, but I know he's going to give you kind of the rundown of what they've been working on.
He's standing out in the woods too.
Yeah, that's out in the Christmas tree fields. Yeah, if I can just share my screen, so whoever's in charge, I guess I'll have to allow that in a moment here.
You can do that. I think just clicking on share your screen at the bottom of your.
Okay, so just let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I appreciate the chance to present this to y'all. We've been working hard over the past couple months with Bill to try to take the plans that OHM had put together and bid a couple years ago, try to get some cost saving features in there, some safety features added, and just tune things up a little bit. So let's see here. Make sure I got the right button. Come on now, there we go. So here's just a look at the high school as it sits now. And this is actually our 3D drone model that we put together when we flew this. So what we did is we were able to take the original survey information that was collected a couple years ago, and then we flew our drone and we're able to add to that. And as you can imagine, these models have a tremendous amount of data and information to designers and folks. It helped us when we're talking to Bill too. And if there are any particular spots you want to take a look at after I kind of run through things, I do have the model open and I can slide it over and we can kind of look around a little bit if there's anything you guys want to see in detail. So we started with a lot of good information. Some of the information, like the underground utilities, we are using in order to save some costs to kind of redo this and put things together. We did use information by OHM. We did verify a few things, but some of that we are taking from what they collected. So as an overview, this is an overview of the site. On the left is Fair Avenue. So north is turned sideways here. So Fair Avenue on the left, Lincoln up on the top of the drawing. You can see the football field there pretty clearly and the tennis courts for reference. So what we've got here, and let me see if I can get my laser pointer working. Can you see that pointer?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So a couple of the big changes we made here as we looked around, looking at it from an overview perspective like this, probably the largest one actually has to do with this area. There was, and there currently is, the entrances into the parking lot here onto Fair Avenue. And in the previous plan that was bid a couple of years ago, there was still an entrance here. One of the first things we identified as a safety concern was the number of entrances here along Fair in a small area is for traffic, but also for pedestrians moving through here, and especially the students. There was just a lot of places to cross, a lot of cars coming and going. The more entrances you have, more risk for car crashes, obviously, but it also gets your drivers far more distracted. And the last thing you need are the high schooler more distracted trying to pull in and out of here as there's kids coming and going from school. So we did eliminate this driveway. We've reconfigured where this used to have its own driveway as well. This, what I'm referring to as the administrative lot, because it's up by those offices. What we did was we lined this up across the street here from the cross street, which I'm forgetting which one that is now. But anyway, we're lining that up because that's the best way to have any access driveways or entrances is if we can line them up with the cross streets across. So we've done that with these ones where we were able. So now you've got traffic can come in here, can turn into this main lot, or come in, follow a one-way path that'll come around this loop also. This would be a drop-off loop for parcels and that sort of thing as well. We did run different turn templates through here to make sure that delivery trucks, it's not sized for semis, but your typical delivery trucks, UPS, FedEx, larger vehicles like that can make it through here no problem. The other vehicles, student traffic and visitors can come in this way. This will all be one way through here as well. Back this direction. This will loop around, not be connected. The sidewalk continues here cleanly, which is a nice thing for anybody walking through there. And then what we've looked at for student drop off is there's two main places here, depending on how the school set that up down the road. There's the possibility that this can all be dropped off here, or similar to Bothwell, our thought is that you can also divide grades similar to Bothwell, have vehicles come in here, drop off along this sidewalk, and then pull back out of here as well. Come in off of Lincoln, come in here, take this one-way drop off along this path, drive through, and come back out to the lighted intersection. So it does divide potentially if both of these are used that way, traffic for that purpose. We did get rid of, there was a kind of finger that popped out of here before on OHM's plans that come in off of Fair right here, come through. They were only able to use this small drop off or drop off along cars, and they were turned out. Didn't really see that as really being practical or working real well. So that looked better and works better to come in this way, have a little more access here to drop off, and then send the cars back out through the lighted intersection. So vehicles that are coming, students, guests, that are coming in to park in these areas, they have the option of coming in here. They'll be forced to either take a right or come straight through. They can take a right, park all through here, come around, park all through here, and then make their way out. They could also out this if they'd like to get out sooner. Vehicles can also come in this side and make this run through here as well. One of the other big changes, or it's not real big, I guess, one of the other changes we made was with the bus here. Bus loop previously had a pretty tight curve right here that would have resulted in the buses actually sticking back off that sidewalk quite a ways, so they wouldn't be able to follow that turn. So we did loosen up a little bit, open that radius up, bumped what we were showing with the number of buses was that they'd actually be backed up into this drive area. So we bump out as much as we could here up against the pod to allow at least one bus, or maybe as you come around the corner here, to actually get out of the lane off to the side. We do have a kind of a bus parking lane here. Then we've extended the sidewalk to come along that area to allow student access to that. And then we've built out this sidewalk up here to kind of fill in this area and connect down to the sidewalk street coming through. The other big thing we did as a safety precaution on this was right now the buses come in, they park along Fair, drop students off, pick them up, and they park along this whole area. Our concern was is if we split traffic like, but still had that full bus lane, we could end up with mixed cars and buses in this area. So we took this intersection right here for this driveway, we pushed it out up to what a normal road width would be. It does a couple things, and we did the same thing with the bus one here. Does one, it gets drivers when they come out, they're actually all the way up here at the road, or looking left and right rather than being sitting back behind where this lane is. It takes out this piece of parking right here, which shouldn't be needed anymore with the buses off of that. And it also gets the buses up here to full distance as well for vision to be able to see both ways out here. If they were stuck back here further and potentially some cars there. We did keep this section right here at that full current width. And the reason we did that was so that in the event that you do have a drop off of students coming through here, it does provide additional stacking room along the road here for those cars to come and turn in if they were to get backed up for an event or depending on how many people are being dropped off at school. I think if we were to split that with by grades into this as one drop off and this is another, I think that would really help with that though too. And then lastly, this area here, we did also do the same thing here. We brought that, narrowed that width up to be a regular width. We did give a little bit of a acceleration lane or a little bit of a lane to kind of pull out of here and merge up into that lane. But then it goes pretty quickly up into a standard size lane here. So we think that by taking some entrances out, moving some things up forward to the road, that we're going to give a much safer access here than what it previously was. That and making sure everything's aligned with intersections. So far fewer conflict points for vehicles and pedestrians. Let's see. Another one of the larger things that we did here was in the previous plans, the bus loop, this piece right here, which you can see in this diagonal hatching, was a heavy duty asphalt. But that was, I believe, about it on that plan, was right here and then up in the bus garage area. As we took a look at things, and you can see it really clearly on the aerial photos and in our drone modeling as well, is the heaviest, the most new pavement that Bill was referring to earlier that's in those potholes runs down this drive lane that's used to circumvent the school. Right now, there's a lot of buses come through here. There could be buses coming through here in the future as well. Deliveries. I know there's semis that have always come through and offload back here. So anyway, this receives a lot of heavy traffic. And if you look at that area, we saw it as a must-have for a heavier duty pavement section. So what we have hatched here now would provide that bus loop and bus / heavy traffic trucks and that sort of thing running around here. Plus, it's just the most vehicle access even for cars. So we have that, and then also in the bus garage area, we've got that heavier pattern, and then across the road here as well to match up with closer to the city spec.
George or Bill, did you guys talk to any of the bus drivers as you're developing this to get their input?
We did not, no. What we've taken from the original one, actually, we weren't able to do drastic changes with what the bus routes were on here that were previously shown in order to match a similar pattern without, drastically changing things up here or something to get buses in. So we did is we allowed them more room, a heavier pavement section and wider turning radiuses. So the thought is that if it was acceptable before, it's in a better state now than what it was in the last go around.
So yes,
I think
to
I'd still
answer,
like input from
Brian,
Go
to
ahead,
answer that question is yes, we did. And so
Okay.
they were heavily involved in the OHM design. And I think what George was alluding to, as far as the busing and the transportation pieces, he didn't really change the OHM design other than certainly adding a little heavier duty pavement there for where the buses are. But the design around the bus garage and that bus loop they had significant input on 2 years ago when this first went out on bid.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry. As in, I haven't been speaking with the bus drivers, but I know they have been, yes, involved previously. So,
Okay.
and it will be a little more friendly here with a little, a wider, an additional pull off, so they're not stuck out here, and some easier turning. And then we did some of the same things up here. We cleaned this intersection up a little bit to make it a cleaner turning in and out. Let's see, what else do I want to hit on here quick? Another thing that we've added in here that wasn't in the previous or in the existing parking lot is we did add some islands into this that would be curbed islands. The drawback to that is potentially snow removal. The schools do contract that out, so it's nothing different than what a contractor would deal with on any other parking lot in town. Local ordinances all require parking islands, one for traffic flow and calming, but also for aesthetics on it. So our thought on it is we did not include one right here because the only spot we felt could be kind of a odd point for a plow driver or loader driver to try to get snow out of this area if we had an island here. The other one should be easy to pull aside or push out to the main lanes and then remove. The other thing that it'll do is we do intend to provide some small deciduous tree plantings in here, something that would probably be a 20-foot height or so maximum that will be able to survive inside of these islands and not bust up pavement down the road, but also provide a little bit more of a campus feel as opposed to an institutional parking lot, I guess.
You're saying that the islands are required these days?
The school doesn't have to go through city site plan review, so they aren't required. If you were to develop anything else in the city that wasn't a school, so it's complying with what the city is trying to do. It'll also be nice, more aesthetically pleasing, and it delineates off drive areas much better, especially in the wintertime, than having something that's painted. One of the concerns was particularly in this area, if these were painted and not curbed to help direct the traffic and really show where this right lane can come through, that people wouldn't be able to see what they're supposed to do if there's snow on the ground. But it's not required for the school, but it is the standard of practice in the area and in most communities.
Well, I'm just curious because I would see where the snow plowing would be an issue. What's interesting in the parking lots, or the parking lot there, is with when the snow gets really heavy, the curbs just kind of disappear. And they're currently, they frequently get driven over. I'm just curious whether or not that. I mean, that's also maybe that parking space. I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't really be able to put parking spaces into these. They'd end up being hatched mainly because of the room it takes for the vehicles to make those corners. If you had a car and most of these are kind of cut off of what could be a spot. So it's using that little bit of extra odd space at the ends of the rows. You might be able to squeeze one more into here.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something that if the board doesn't want them, we can remove them. But they do a lot for for aesthetics for sure, but also just making sure that traffic follows the proper direction. So something that you can consider and make some determinations on.
Yeah, I'm just curious. What do you think on that, Bill?
Well, I right now they are hatched, so those aren't parking spots. Right now we have a 55-gallon barrel with a sign sticking out of them in those areas that kind of block them off and mark those areas. So obviously those are more aesthetically pleasing than the rusted out barrels with the sign sticking out of them. I think the only reason we didn't have them before is was the concern for plowing primarily. Right now, the plow trucks do kind of leave a little line down the middle there for the students to butt up against. It'll definitely be a change for whoever gets the plow bids for the high school.
Yeah, so as as you guys consider this, it's something that can go either way. So as we also see this as being one of the more primary entrances now off Lincoln coming in here for drop-offs, we did add some curb right around this and added in these islands to narrow this up a little bit and help direct traffic. Let's see. As far as an overview, there's some spots added here. One of the things that was in the original plan that we're currently, sorting out what the final look will be was a large detention basin in this area that was, I think it was around 4 or 5 feet deep, that had some drainage structures and sewer pipe that ran to behind the tennis courts and then drained through this ditch that comes out to the little creek down here. We took a look at that, and the purpose of that is to help reduce the peak flows into the city sewer system. They do give a stormwater credit for doing that. However, when we took a look at what we thought the construction cost would be to do that, we were estimating around $30,000 to $35,000 and about a $2,000 a month cost savings. 15-year plus payback on it. So we're not sure that that's, it's helpful to the city with their sewer system, but whether or not it's worthwhile for the school to have and also use that land as a fenced off detention basin as opposed to maybe a flat piece of turf that could be used for something else, I guess, is still yet to be determined. We did. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did you say the savings would be $2,000 a month?
A year.
A year.
Yeah, about $160 a month. All we'd be able to pull off the way that that's calculated is this area right here that would be draining into it that we would eliminate from the city storm sewer system and then discharge out through down to the creek. So it ends up being about $160 a month. So it's payback wise, it's probably not the most prudent decision, but still evaluating that a bit. At the bus garage itself, we've largely kept it the same with a little bit of change in layout to where uses would be, but it's still flexible because it's large enough, it has enough space. We did still continue with pavement of this full back area, even though it's not necessarily fully delineated for anything. Couple of reasons. One is this, the orthodontist or the dental office here actually parks here and they kind of use this for going in and out. But also, if we were to shave this up and minimize it, it's space that for the cost of paving it would probably be useful at some point to either store something, park something or whatever. So then what we did was instead of having a row of employee parking back here and then the rest of this just being kind of a drive around and some of the smaller bus storage, we put this to bus parking, parked what would be kind of sideways across this so they can come through, pull in, park, and then pull right back out onto Lincoln or out through here if they desire. We moved employee parking all up to the front. This is also some of the bus and smaller bus parking through here. It is large enough though that if they needed to take and put a bus here or something, they could still do that. And then this is wide here to allow for the turning as they come through this, because to make those 290s, it takes a bit of a turn to get around the building. So
one question on the bus parking on the right-hand side there. Is that like what they leave the bus there overnight or?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So
in the wintertime, they plug the buses in. How is that taken into account also?
Yeah, so the plugs that would have been out here before would be relocated out to this side.
Okay.
Out along where they'd be parking.
Okay.
So let's see. So couple of things on the overview of it. As Bill had mentioned, the bids that came in before that, money's been kind of getting socked away for. Overall, we did reduce the amount of asphalt that's in here. We also eliminated a couple spots of sewer and whatnot. So we've saved quite a bit of material and work off of here from the prior one by making some of the minor changes. And one of the minor changes that made a big difference actually was the original design basically just paved along the original paving lines. We took it and geometrically designed it off the building to, get the lanes what they needed to be, the parking spaces what they needed to be, but not necessarily any extra or just odds and ends shapes and such in here. And by doing that, we were able to save, a couple feet along here and a couple feet along this backside that just wasn't really needed. So it ended up adding up to quite a bit. If we don't put this guy in here, that saves, like I said, around $35,000. And there's a couple other little pieces of sewer that weren't warranted with some of these changes, or that we were able to move or pick up with existing storm sewer system. One of the things that is worth noting, actually, let me just move through a page or two here. This is actually, we'll just kind of walk through here quick as we zoom in. You can see the existing versus the proposed layout. But so this, here's the existing path that students have to cross here, across these two. And then in the new layout, there'd be one right here. So we did, we removed those. So this is one clean walk across with just one entrance here. And then they'd be able to get into the school here with just the one driveway to cross. And actually the driveway ends up being either right here, or they can cross this way, whichever way they'd like to. But it takes away multiple conflict points here. So I think that cleans up nicely there. Let me go to the next one. So down here, and actually this, you can see that some of that patchwork going along here, that assignment where we're proposing to put that heavier duty pavement section all the way along this. So we did add some asphalt through this drive, but it was greatly offset by double or triple by the amount that we were able to reduce by getting rid of full depth asphalt along the perimeters and just kind of cleaning up some areas. So what this is really just adding an extra inch of asphalt through here to help give that a little longer lasting surface. The next one, actually, this is the one I want to show. So right here, there's the sanitary sewer line. There's a sanitary sewer line that runs through here. It comes under the building, and then it comes over here, and then leaves out to the city. That sanitary sewer line is an old vitrified clay line, which is original to when the school was put in. So it's nearing its useful life. But the other thing is it's clay, which is very brittle and prone to cracking and breaking. So the original plans did have for these to be replaced outside of the school building. One thing we did add in was under this piece, there's a manhole right about here and one right about here. And there's a line that runs right here underneath the school. We did add in a cured in place liner to be placed inside of that pipe. It's essentially like an epoxy soaked fabric that goes and gets pulled through inside of that, inflated to the pipe. And then they run a UV light through there, cures it in place, provides structural support and a smooth line through there. We didn't want to leave this not addressed because if something fails underneath here, obviously that'd be a major issue as opposed to doing that liner underneath there. So we did add that in, and I think that's important and worth noting why we did. Here's another little look at the bus garage. So this area here, we did add in a section of parking right here. And then this area is going to be, currently it's going to be an open turf area. Whether or not that ends up being a pond or not, we're still working through the final bit on that.
Hey, George, while you're on that screen, do you want to touch on the ADA accessibility you built in for the tennis courts there as well?
That's exactly where I was going next. So the prior plans had added in handicap parking, accessible parking over here, and then a sidewalk that ran across right here. It was coming, the parking would be right here and you'd come across. When we took a look at that, it worked, but our thought on it was that not many people coming to the school would be aware to go to the bus garage to get those couple of handicap spaces. So what we did is we've got the spaces that are over here, and we're like put a couple more in here as well. What we did, we're gonna put a crosswalk right here. We extended this sidewalk down so that you can kind of see the corner right here. We extended the sidewalk right here, and we can make that access come in just like this. So you can see it actually drawn in over here. And it meets accessible routes, and we think makes a simpler way to find them for general folks that are coming out here, whether they're have students in the school or if they're visiting. Just didn't seem real practical to have it over here. So that's one change we made here, but this will provide a good access point up to this with a minimal slope to it. Let's see. And then the other thought here is right now there's a couple of large poles or logs that are laying here, presumably from at some point to stop people from driving back here. Our intention right now is just to plant a couple of trees in here that would do the same thing, but be a little cleaner than those couple of logs that are down there. So I think that brings us kind of to the end of that. So I was going to, just in case there were any questions, I do have, we can look at some existing areas here in the model. Or I can bring up any area in the plans if you'd like to look at anything closer or have any questions. None? Well, that works for me. If that's the case, we'll stop sharing here.
Thanks, George.
Yeah. no
Thanks,
problem.
George. Appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
Do it. Yeah, if anything comes up, working with Bill close on this one, and hope to get it out to bid in about the next week here.
Can I
All right.
reserve that tree to your left for next Christmas?
This was taken this fall, and it might have been cut this year, so I'll have to
Okay.
check, but it's possible. So, all right. Well, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
George. Appreciate it.
No problem.
I'll go pretty quick, Mr. Randall. I got one other thing I just wanted to bring up under
Okay.
superintendent's other. And that's a quick shout out to UPHS Marquette for accommodating MAPS and getting our vaccine distribution going. We were able to get 209 employees vaccinated today, so that's huge for our district. I think long-term, maintain face-to-face education and do some of those things. That was integral for our staff to, again, get us to the point of being as safe as we possibly can be, and made a lot of headway. So, to GAR and the entire team at UPHS, our employees went through that process today. No lines, they got us in and out, no waits. It was just operated phenomenally on their part. So again, a huge thanks to them. And then to spin that forward, just kind of an FYI to the board and the community. 209 employees. We're still upwards of a minimum of 180 to go. They're looking to potentially get those in one day next week, potentially having to split those over the next 2 weeks. What that means for MAPS, we had a pretty in-depth meeting the other day, last week, when we found out that they were going to start to vaccinate our employees. And like a lot of our neighboring districts, how do we go about it? So it was kind of left to us to decide, how do we come up with our list and who gets vaccinated and who doesn't. We decided to formulate a plan by age and started, making sure that our oldest staff got vaccinated on down to the youngest. There were pros and cons for selecting individual groups and those types of things. And that plan just seemed to work the best for us. What that does though, in the coming weeks is probably equates to us having to take a few more online learning days in order to get our staff through to be vaccinated. So we can't have 180 people out on a particular day, or even if they did half that, we don't have the capability of having 90 folks out being vaccinated. We don't have the subs, the folks that we would need to step in to maintain our face-to-face curriculum. So what I anticipate, as soon as I'm given the green light and they identify what day our next round of employees would be vaccinated, is declaring an online learning day for the district. At least one day next week. If they have to split it, it would be one day next week and one day the following week. And then we're also going to need a day, potentially, if it doesn't align like it did today with like a professional development day, and I don't know that it's going to, for the second vaccinations, which would come up. So right now, our folks would have to go in and 3 weeks time. I wasn't there today, but I think they gave them about a 3-week window of what they anticipate the next round of vaccinations would be. So I'm just throwing that out that we're looking at, probably three potential online learning days, if they can get us in one more shot, potentially 4 online learning days to get our next round of vaccines in.
We have a certain amount of PD days that we have to do every year anyway, right? Is there any way that we can coordinate, like move that around so that we actually hit some of those days for the purpose of the COVID vaccination?
Yeah, I guess potentially, that's a good question, Mr. Randall. We were out of full PD days. This was our last full PD day was today. So
Okay.
we do have some clock hours and some other things we still have to meet. I'm not saying I want to hit the easy button, but this has been a lot of hard work to not only come up with a list, to get it organized, to move through a list where we have people that certainly want to be vaccinated and people that don't, and make sure we're filling our slots. We don't want any vaccine to go to waste. As soon as they open a vial, they want to make sure they're using all 6 doses they can get out of that vial. So it's really key for us to make sure we have our ducks in a row, and we just can't afford to have a no-show or a sub not show up and somebody not get out of class to go take that vaccine. So it probably, from a logistical standpoint, makes the most sense if we don't have the ability to line up, what would have currently been a day off to get through there. So again, based on our math today, we had almost 88% of our folks that chose to be vaccinated, which I think is awesome. And so I foresee a really high percentage of our educators continually being vaccinated, and we have quite a few yet to go. So I just want to put that out there. I wish I could say and have a plan. This is the day, but we haven't been told that yet. So we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants a little bit as we move into this in the next couple weeks. And again, they're accommodating us, so not on them. It's just the whole country's trying to roll this out as fast as they possibly can, and so we're all just trying to be flexible to make it happen.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right. Item number 10 is new business. These are reorganizational meeting issues. Linda, is this something that we can go through these and then do this as one motion, or do we have to do each one?
We can do, what we've typically done in the past is someone has made a motion, which was seconded, to approve the reorganizational meeting issues as presented, items 1 through 7. Unless there were any issues with any of the items. That's how
I
it's
will
been
make
done.
a-
So it would be one motion.
I will make a motion that we approve reorganizational meeting issues numbers 1 through 7.
Okay, do we,
Support.
should we designate those? Never mind. Well, having a motion and support, is there any, for the purpose of the new board members, have you seen these guys so that you know what they are, 1 through 7? Let me just, can I just read those? Is that a problem? Number 1 is authorize the board secretary, treasurer to sign checks. That we have to do that every year, even if it's the same one. Number 2 is designate persons authorized to sign contracts and agreements on behalf of the Board of Education. This includes the board secretary, treasurer, the board president, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and the supervisor of special education services. Also, authorized to sign the building principals and building use rental contracts, student assembly contracts, Michigan magazine sales contracts, student picture contracts, other contracts and agreements as designated by the superintendent. The athletic director, contracts and agreements as designated by the superintendent. Business manager, audit, grant, and banking contracts as designated by the superintendent. The director of technology, contracts and agreements as designated by the superintendent. The director of Kaufman, auditorium, contracts and agreements as designated by the superintendent. Human resources, contracts and agreements for employee insurance benefits as designated by the superintendent. Transportation or bid awards, and a director, a transportation director, for contracts and agreements as designated by the superintendent. I know that was long, but that's just number 2. Number 3 is to authorize persons to approve purchase orders of all MAPS administrators. Number 4 is authorize persons to transfer funds between accounts. Deb Berry, the assistant superintendent, and Janine Glenberg, the business manager. Number 5, the board secretary's delegation of posting notices of meetings to Linda Hopper, the administrative assistant to the superintendent and the board. Number 6, the board secretary, treasurer's delegation of school election responsibilities to assistant superintendent Deb Berry and Linda Hopper, administrative assistant to the superintendent and the board. And lastly, number 7, consider naming Kroon Law Firm as a provider of legal services to MAP. That was just for the benefit of the new folks.
Good job, Jamie.
I know that was I know that seemed like a long amount, but it is true. This is what we do every year. So every year we will do this, and it will be a lot quicker because by that time you will know. So anyway, we have a motion and support. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, I will, we'll go for roll call vote.
Okay, James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Kembenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
Yes.
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray,
Yes.
Okay, and the last item of issues is to set board meeting dates for 2021. And if everybody got that attachment, it just shows the dates through, I believe, what is it, June or July? And then we have a new set of dates. So, do we need a motion for that, Linda, or was that included?
no, we do need a motion and a second for that to
I'll
approve
make
it.
the motion.
I'll
To,
second.
dates.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote.
James Randall,
Yes.
Kristen Kembenzi,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Cherry,
Yes.
James Hewitt,
Yes.
Glenn Sarka,
Yes.
Jennifer Clip,
Yes.
Jennifer Ray,
Yes.
Okay. On to comments from the public. These are, any comments? Do we have anybody in the queue? Okay, Moving on to item 12, gifts and bequests. We did have a donation from John Prince of $3,000 and eight $250 gift cards for a total of $5,000 to assist with clothing and other needed items for MAP students. Thank you, John. Number 13, board member comments. Jen Ray.
Want to say thank you, and I'm glad to be here and finally learning lots from all of you. So all I've got. Thanks.
Great. Mr. Hewitt.
Sorry, I got away from the unmute button for a second. Just welcome to Jen and Jen, and hopefully the start of 2021. I know the school year is already halfway, but hoping that the remainder of the school year, continues to be in a more positive direction, I guess. So.
Thank you. Jen Clip. Any comments?
Just again, thank you so much. You guys have been great. And particularly you, Mr. Randall, thank you for taking the time to meet with us. And Mr. Saunders has been really patient with keeping us in the loop. So we're really excited and probably a little nervous, but definitely really excited. So thank you all for being so welcoming.
Mrs. Cambenzi.
Just want to thank Mr. Prince for his generous donation and welcome our 2 new board members. So it should be a fun time.
Mr. Sarka.
It's nice to see a free and fair election go so smoothly. Congratulations to the new president, vice president, and secretary. Also, welcome aboard to Jen and Jen. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person. It's been a long time. I'm glad we have the capability to do it by Zoom, but there's nothing to beat being in person and having that level of interaction. So I'm looking forward to that, and let's hope that 2021 is better than 2020. And thank you to Mr. Prince. That's very generous, and it says a lot about our community and the concern we take for those that are less fortunate. So thank you.
Dr. Cherry.
Yeah, Mr. Sarka, how many different backgrounds have you used tonight?
Well, I try to change it up. Unlike some people, I think you've been using that background since
I've been using this one from, yes, just about. Yeah, it's about the first game I went to.
The
Thanks.
world's largest McDonald's arch in the background too.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Welcome to the 2 Gens. Most meetings are just like this, kind of boring and technical, and you'll learn a lot, and don't be overwhelmed and don't be intimidated. It comes pretty quick. I really appreciate Jamie stepping up, and I really appreciate all the leadership Bill has shown through this craziness that we've been through. That it has been an insane year so far. And I really think we've kept the craziness down to a minimum through his leadership and through Deb Berry's leadership, and everybody kind of pitching in and being on the same page. So that's kind of nice, and look forward to working with everybody this year.
Thank you. Okay, board president comments. I would echo what Brian just said about Bill, and also welcome to Jen and Jen. It's a pleasure to have you here, and looking forward to what you can add to the board and what you can learn. It really is an experience, and I do believe you will like it. There are times that are a little challenging, but for the most part, I think you'll enjoy it. And thank you all for making me giving me the presidency. Hopefully, I'll be able to fill those shoes well. So that's all I have. Last item is adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Or
Support.
Okay. Don't think we need a roll call for that, do we, Linda?
We do not need a roll call to adjourn.